Hi, welcome to Be Joyful 24/7. So I thought I'll do like a garden tour. I never done that because I've always done sort of like informational video on loads of aspects on gardening, but I've never shown my garden around since the garden transformation video. So I thought we'll just do like a summer tour about what things are growing at the moment, where I am up to with my veg growing journey. It's the 5th of July today, so we'll just show you how things are looking now, what's growing and what I'm harvesting at the moment, and then I'll try and do another one maybe in August as well. So I'm stood at the top of the steps coming out from the house, and this is how generally things are looking from here. My steps are filled with plants because normally I would discard all the seedlings that I don't use, but someone suggested to me put it on Facebook, so I've been selling a lot of seedlings and it's been very popular, so I've tried to just repot them as well now, and I'm growing on a little bit now. So as you can see, my roses have been amazing this year. So I've got Desdemona there, Silas Marner, there's Enchantress, Munstead Ward, Benjamin Britten. Here, my pink piano is absolutely fabulous. And my happy piano is just right behind there. I have my wedding piano here. I've got Jude the Obscure. I've got loads of roses. And of course, I just want to show you my Florentina rose. It's absolutely stunning. It's absolutely stunning. It's a climber. Shasta Daisy is looking absolutely fabulous here. I had loads of lupins over here on this raised bed, and they were really glorious, and I've just cut them all down now, and I keep getting a couple of like spikes of a second floor. Now that they're all finished, I have planted a lot of poppies and cosmos and chrysanthemums and dahlias. They've not flowered yet. The zinnias are flowering at the moment. And I've also propagated a lot of roses this year. But the only difference you can see now is I have a lot of potted plants. Now, ideally, I didn't want any pots next to my vegetable beds, because if you have any pots, there are more chances slugs are under there and it might damage your plants at night. But I had no other option because, like I say, I get really carried away with growing. And, ooh, there you go, sure enough. Don't know whether you can see, but let's see, I can get him out there. There you go. There's a little slug. And this is exactly why I do not normally encourage people to put pots or anything by the vegetable beds, because it is absolutely a haven for slugs and snails to hide under. But as I said, I am now running out of space because I literally have so many plants, and I've started accumulating more, and I'm adding to my collection, and I have no other option but to resort to things that I wouldn't normally recommend. But having said that, I do regularly check under my pots to make sure that I'm keeping on top of the slug population. And I also have other defenses that I'll talk about in a minute. So stood here, I'm just going to go to the right first. So in my first bed here, at the moment, I have loads of cauliflowers and beetroots. But you may also see some of these are my onions. Now, I have tested something new this year, which is planting alliums next to brassicas. I was told they are great companion plants because slugs do not like alliums. Now, before I planted these onions, which was, I'm going to say, about 3 weeks ago. These were sets, started from sets, by the way. So, you know, like tiny bulbs of onions that you plant in the ground. So I put these down. But before that, I had the whole bed filled with garlic. Do remember, you can't plant both garlic and onion together in the bed though. They don't do well. So this bed has at the moment some cauliflowers and cabbages and some beetroots. And here I have my broad beans, and I do think they are ready to be harvested. Now, I've never grown broad beans before, but this year I just trialed about 7 or 8 plants, not more than that. I'm going to harvest this, I'm going to cook and see if I like it. And if I do like it, maybe next year I will plant more broad beans, but these are the only broad beans that I have. Having said that, broad beans are like a haven for aphids. I don't know whether you can see them here. I have been keeping on top of it, trying to sort of like wash them with water because I don't like adding any chemicals or anything to my vegetables. So I do wash them regularly when I'm, watering. I'm also trialing something, which is, this is called a Jubilee watermelon. This is supposed to be a mini watermelon that doesn't require a lot of support. So I've just put like a little teepee and I've planted a couple of seeds here. This one I planted them as a seedling, but I did throw a couple of seeds in randomly and they've taken off as well, actually, to be perfectly honest. So I've got a lot of Jubilee watermelons here. I'm going to trail them on this bamboo teepee that I've made and see how it goes. I also have all my sweet corn now. That looks really great. And they're taking off. Something else I've tested is, this is a hyacinth bean. If it's an Indian vegetable, we call it avarikai, by the way. So this is a hyacinth bean, but it's supposed to be not a climber, and just like your dwarf beans, like that you can French beans that you can grow, which in a minute I'll show you. It's really right next to these plants in this bed. It's supposed to be like a bush version, and you can see there are loads of flowers already. I cannot wait because this is the first time I'm growing these. So these are my hyacinth beans. Obviously I have loads of my sweet corns. I have 2 varieties of sweet corns planted this year. They are Swift and Incredible, I think. Some of them, like these big ones, I started them off indoors and I planted them. But these ones, I just plunked them in the ground to see how many would take. I just did as many as possible. You can see there's like a tiny one coming there as well. Just randomly planted them here. Because with sweet corn, you do need to make sure it's in a cluster rather than in a row, because they need to be able to pollinate with each other. So my sweet corn's over here, and these are my dwarf French beans. So those were hyacinth beans, these are French beans, just like the beans that you buy from supermarkets. But these are a yellow variety. I'm just trialing a lot of new varieties this year. So I've got these here. So this is the second bed, and this is how it's looking. Oh, by the way, this is my Eden rose, climbing rose. So I've got all my climbers here. They all desperately need repotting. And I also wanted to show you something else is, you may see a lot of these plants here along here. They are not weeds. Well, fair enough, there are a few weeds. I haven't weeded in like the last few weeks, so I do need to get onto that task, but I keep not getting the chance. But these are actually calendulas or pot marigolds, and this is how they look. Now, if you are growing vegetables, these are great companion plants to attract bees and hoverflies and other pollinators. Now, last year I had them in pots here, and these have all self-seeded. I did weed several times and I kept pulling them. But then at one point, I just sort of like let them grow. I was like, if you've really been so tough and you keep coming back, I'm going to let you do your thing. And I've let them all just self-seed, and they are everywhere, really. So they're pretty, and they're doing a good job for pollinators. I'm just going to leave them. So that's how that's looking. Now, this is, by the way, this is a climbing rose called Oh Wow. Always get sidetracked with my roses because I've got that many. Okay, the next bed, again, I have planting my alliums next to my brassicas. Well, fair enough, there are like a few little bits of damages. You can't sort of like expect an absolutely clean vegetable with no pest damage. If you do that, you either have to use chemicals or you have to sacrifice on something. At the end of the day, a garden needs a good ecosystem. You do need to have things that's eating something else. And that's how you should grow them. Otherwise, there is no point. So I'm not too fussed about it. But I have to say, though, this allium next to brassicas is working really well. Now, I planted some onions here from sets, and they are ready to be harvested. As you can see, when onions flop over like this, and you can see they're starting to yellow, that means they're ready to be harvested. Actually, I'm going to pull one to show you how it looks. So these were all started from sets, and this is how it looks. Oh, there you go. This is a red onion variety, by the way. Isn't that pretty? And when you're growing onions at home, not only can you eat the onions, you let this dry now and you can store it. You can also eat these leaves just like spring onions. So there you go, 2 for 1. So that's how they're looking. And my broccoli or calabrese, all doing fantastic. So I have my calabrese, and oh, this is a different cauliflower variety. This one is called all year round, I think. So I've got this bed with my alliums, onions, and some more brassicas. I've always grown my climbing beans here, because this is the only place where I have trellis. I know people talk about crop rotation. I'm not a firm believer, especially if you're doing no dig and you are actually mulching more compost. You do not need to worry about crop rotation. You may ask, oh, what about if there is any sort of like diseases or anything in the plants from before? Yes and no, but I've not had that much of a problem. So I've just always grown them here like ever. They've been glorious. And this year I am trialing a new variety, which this one is called purple pod. This is a purple variety called Violet, I think. And this one is my absolute favorite of a climbing bean. It's called Climbing Blue Lake. It's a fantastic yielder, and they are miraculous. Again, I will be having loads of French beans soon. So you do have to excuse me. When I was filming before, I did not realize that I do have all my French beans actually started to crop here. And on the other side, here on my raised bed, oh, by the way, this raised bed is empty at the moment. It had garlic completely. But garlic and beans don't do well. You need to remember that. So I'd harvested my garlic, and now I've added my beans. So I am planning to plant my carrots over here. I'm just going to have to do the seed sowing soon. Now, here I had planted loads of cucumbers. I planted 2 varieties. So I planted mini munch. One of them looks fantastic. Actually, I'll do this while I'm talking and trail this. I didn't realize it's grown so quickly in the last couple of days. I've already got a few cucumbers here. And I also put a new one called Honey Plus. It's supposed to be really, really a fantastic variety for munching. Unfortunately, both died. I had 2 more plants here. It doesn't matter. I can always start again now. It's not really too late. So I'm going to probably start my Honey Plus variety pretty soon. So that's my cucumber, already fruiting. And over here in the middle, when we originally did the garden transformation, we had this water feature for a long time. I put it here. Unfortunately, we have a lot of mice in the garden, especially this year. That's another reason, which something else was a problem, was because of the mice was. Normally, I plant my beans straight in the ground, but this year, every time I planted peas or beans or anything, they've been digging hole and eating them. So I was forced to start everything as seedling. So coming back to the water feature, we did have a lead coming out from the back. I think you can still see a little bit of the leftover cable at the back there, if you can see. So that was pumping the fountain. And unfortunately, the mice chewed on them. So I just thought, I'm not replacing it. So instead, I'm going to embrace and I'm going to turn it into a planter instead. So I've got loads of plants. I've got my petunias, lobelias, and oh, there's another white petunia here, gorgeous. And I've got my teddy bear sunflower, which is budding up now. And I've got my godacia. And these were the peas that were started later on just for shoots, because I like pea shoots in salad, so I did that. And this is my bitter melon or bitter gourd or pahakai if you are Tamil. And this is how it's looking. It's loads of flowers. I do have some more bitter melon in another place. I'll talk to you about it in a minute. And this is my hyacinth beans or avarikai, which is the Kodi one. So this is like a climber one. I did have loads more, like I said, planted directly in the raised bed. But like I say, the mice had munched them. Last year I only had one hyacinth bean climber, and I was pretty much okay for hyacinth beans because it really cropped that well. I have loads of Shasta daisies again. Shasta daisies are really great perennials. They attract bees and hoverflies and other beneficial insects, and they pretty much take care of themselves if you plant them in the ground. But I do have one in a pot here because I think it brightens this place up a little bit. So I also planted one of the jasmine plants that I've always been propagating, because this becomes like a weed in my garden, honestly. Gosh, keep cutting them down and they keep just popping everywhere. But anyway, I just wanted one here that I wanted to trail it on this pergola here, and it is glorious, and there are loads of jasmine flowers and buds. It's really lovely. In the evening sometimes I sit here and sip a cup of coffee and you can smell them. It's gorgeous. Now this is called a gourd. It's called a bottle gourd or sorekai in Tamil, and I have one. Actually, this has grown really a lot in the last couple of days. It needs to be trained up in this pergola. There is another one. I'll show you. The leaves are massive. I'm going to put my hand here and show you the size. By the way, ignore the dirt on my nails. That's what happens when you're a gardener. You get soil manicure. So you can see this massive the leaves are, and they are almost up to the top. This is a thornless rose, ideal for pergolas and places where you sit down, so you don't want to, as you can see, look, I'm putting my fingers through. There are absolutely no thorns here. This is a thornless variety called Zephyrin Drauhin. I'm pretty sure I'm saying it correctly, maybe not, I don't know. Now, I want to talk about something that's annoying me quite a lot. Is the ivy is destroying my fence. Now, I took drastic action this year. I cut them all back, and I don't like using weed killer, but I was forced to do that because I've already lost one fence panel there because of that. And I've got these two panels now literally on its last leg. I have to really get in touch with the owners and do something about it. So I've sort of like left it now. Anyway, coming back to the vegetables. So this on the other side from the arch, you can see these are my peas. I have been harvesting my peas. I know it looks really sad, but that's because it's coming to the end of the season. But it's still, you can see, although it looks a bit yellowed, you still have peas. That's because the more you harvest, the more peas you get. I literally took a huge bowl, and when I mean huge, a massive bowl of peas. I had to even freeze some of them because that I had that much. There you go, some more peas here from these ones. But these are my early varieties, and I don't mind because I still have my older one doing its thing. There you go. And I've been harvesting and harvesting and harvesting, and I still have loads more harvest left. So it'll be giving me peas for a few more weeks really. And once the peas are finished, I've got other plants that I can plant in this bed. And then moving on to the other long bed on this side, I have my kale. Oh, these are my garlic that I planted a little bit later in the winter, just as an experiment. I did that, and they're not ready, so they're still here. It's only a tiny patch though. That was just an experiment, so I always do that. But this whole bed had garlic. I've already harvested them, and now it's home to all my cabbages. And as you can see, I've not covered them at all, and they're still looking lush. Oh, I told you, didn't I? I'll show you the eggs, and you need to keep looking. There you go. There at the back. All you need to do is do this and take them off, and you can keep on top of it. Would rather do this than cover them up, and then sometimes that's actually attracting slugs than doing good. Anyway, so this whole bed is full of cabbages. Now, as I said, because I'm testing this allium brassica thing, after I harvested my garlic, I planted some onions in its place. And it seems to be working, actually. Oh, there is another Eden rose. This is an 85. The one that I showed before is an 87. I love Eden rose. To be perfectly honest, that was the first rose I ever fell in love with, and that's how I started into my rose obsession. It's called a black peony, but it's a poppy. It does look like peony. It's massive. It's absolutely gorgeous. This is the first flower. I am so excited. You know, I talked about thornless rose, Zephyrin Rauhin. This is another one, but this is a pink variety. Again, look, I'm putting my fingers through. There's absolutely no thorns. This one's called Kathleen Harrod, by the way, if you're interested. And obviously, I've got my grapevine. They were bought as two tiny plants. Left them in pot for a whole year. I forgot I had them. And I thought they were dead. And I just planted one on this side and one on the other side. Do have grapes. Well, hopefully not enough to make wine, but there you go. They're at the beginning of something here, and I'm quite excited actually. I don't know how it's going to turn out. I think they were all different varieties. I think one of them is green, one of them is like red, and I think one of them is supposed to be black, seedless grapes. But I don't know. But I am very excited to see actual grapes. This is a little bit like on the side of my patio, on the other side of my patio where we don't have like a seating area. So the other side is more like a seating area. This side is a bit more narrower, and this is where I have all my fruit trees and bushes. So I have been harvesting and harvesting raspberries. I want to just munch one. Absolutely delicious. My raspberries, I've been picking them a bowl full pretty much every other day for my lunch. I've been having so many raspberries. The highlight is my blueberries this year. And look at that. Honestly, best blueberries I have ever tasted. It is literally the whole plant is covered in blueberries. I do have another one here. This one has not done really well. Well, this one does have some berries in there. I am really trying to stop myself from picking a few and eating them. But like I say, I have been harvesting raspberries and blueberries pretty much consistently for packed lunch. And my mint that I have growing here, looking really lush. I have a dwarf apple tree. Did have loads of apples last year as well, and they are doing really well. This one is my plum. I had loads of plums. I don't know if you can see. This is a Victorian plum. By the way, they're all grown in huge pots. And I have my conference pear here in this pot. So there you go. More, if I can show you. And the tiniest greenhouse ever. It has loads of, like, I have some more beetroots now ready to go into some empty spaces. I have my sprouting broccolis are all ready. So this will be like a spring crop for next year, but you have to sow them now and put them in the ground ready. I hope it makes sense. And then you will be able to harvest them in spring next year. I have some okra or bendekai, aubergine. By the way, these are like an Indian variety aubergine, so they're a little bit different than the long aubergines that you get here. I have more okra. This one is called cluster beans, or we call it kottavaranga. These are my first early potatoes. I have a few there as well, that they're all finished. By the way, these are my first early potatoes, and if I dig a tiny bit, I'll be able to show you. Okay, there you go. There you go. So, these are my first early potatoes. They're all ready in pots. Once they're finished, what I do is, like tomorrow hopefully, I'll cut them all back. I stack them up and I will leave it in my cellar. So that way, They last very long. I don't harvest all of them at the same time, and then I literally dig them out when I need them. So these are my first early potatoes. So this is the side access of our garden. It is a huge wall, a fantastic sun trap because it's south facing, and this is where I grow most of my Indian vegetables. All of these lush looking things that are flowering are my second early potatoes. If you don't know what first early potatoes, second early potatoes and main crops are, do go and watch a video that I've already done about how to chit potatoes, how to plant them in pots, and I've talked about what first earlies are, second earlies are, and everything. So my first earlies are already ready, and these are flowering now and will be ready soon. And you may not be able to tell you because it's hard to see under the growth, but there are so many pots. I think there are about 15 huge pots full of potatoes here that will literally see me through even during winter. Moving on, I have more bitter gourd or bitter melon. I did see a few fruit. Oh, there you go. When I came last time, I don't know if you can see it. There you go. It's there. So I am, like I say, growing in a teepee here. Oh, you know the bottle gourd that we saw in my pergola there? Got another one here growing in a little teepee as well. And there you go, a couple of fruits. And this one is another bitter melon, but we call it like midi barca, which is like a mini version of it. They're like very tiny. So like these bitter gourd grow really long. These ones grow tiny, tiny, tiny short ones. They're delicious. So I've put these ones, they've just recently been started. More okra or vendakai or cluster beans. Lots and lots more of aubergines here. At the back though, all my tomatoes are over there. Now with tomatoes, there you go, quite a lot of fruiting ones. I will do an in-depth video about how to get more from your tomato plants pretty soon. But these are my tomatoes at the back. And there are so many pots, and you might be wondering why I have so many. But I am growing a lot of variety. So the varieties that I'm growing this year are Moneymaker, Gardener's Delight, Black Opal, Mountain Magic, Fandango, Crimson Crush, Roma, Consoluto. My Black Opal is a really, really black coloured tomato. Mountain Magic and Fandango are supposed to be really extremely blight resistant, very expensive seeds, by the way. And Gardener's Delight is more of a cherry tomato that you can snack, and Moneymaker is another cooking tomato. Consoluto is a beef tomato or Italian tomato. Crimson Crush, it looks almost sort of like a pinky, sort of like a red colour. I love the colour of it, so I just thought I'll try it this year. And I've also got Roma as well, which looks a little bit elongated. So those are the tomatoes that I'm growing. And this one is called Malabar spinach or Indian spinach. This grows into actually like a climber. I do have to give them support in a bit. So I'm growing two different varieties of Indian spinach. This one is a green one, and this one is a purple one. Actually, you can see from the stem color. I hope you can see that. They're both Indian spinach. I also have a lot of different chili peppers here. So I am growing two different sort of like peppers, like the bell peppers that we say. So I have Sweet Amy and California Wonder. That's just right at the end there. I'm also growing ordinary normal chilies, and with normal chilies I'm growing Caribbean Hot for cooking. I also have, I think, jalapenos, habanero, a few different ones, I've lost track. These pansies were in my beds, but they finished over winter, and I didn't want to pull them and throw them, so I put them all in little pots, and they're really doing well, giving me color. Oh, this one is called a ladybird poppy. You can see why it's called a ladybird poppy, by the way. And my sunflower, oh, this one was a gorgeous black sunflower called Black Magic, but this one is finished, but I have more buds here ready to open. So far I've shown you the back garden, I've shown you the side garden. Excuse the noise because it's been the weather's been pretty bad the last couple of days. Even yesterday there was a huge thunderstorm, and today is a nicer day, so everybody is working in their garden, so excuse the noise in the background. So this is how my side garden looks, and I'm just going to go around and I'm going to show you my front garden. So this is my front garden. So let's go take a look on this side. We won't go to the driveway bit yet. So I've got more potted plants, all my lobelias. I've got some geraniums. Nothing's flowered yet, but the lobelia is looking really lovely. All of these, again, grown from seeds. Nothing's been bought, shop bought. Everything's been grown from seeds. I've got more silver dust, teddy bear sunflower, and this one is called infrared sunflower. I've got some black lilies, more black lilies over here. Oh, this was a self-seeded Achillea. Just self-seeded itself, and I've left it, and it looks so pretty against the black lilies. So I just thought, you know what, you look pretty. I'm going to leave you. I think a weed is only a weed if you decide it's in the wrong place. So it looks pretty, so I've left it. And I've got more lilies ready to bud. These are white ones, and I've got loads of peonies. Now, all my peonies, of course, are finished. You can see that I've cut them all back. Got about 5 to 6 different types of peonies here. This was supposed to be an Indian marigold that I took the seeds from that I had grown last year. But it's sort of like mutated and gone into a different mode, and it looks completely different. Like some flowers are bicolor, some of them are yellow. I have no idea what's happening. It's doing its own thing. This is sort of like a front little patch where I have my yellow climbing rose. This one is called Good as Gold. And in this little patch here, normally this is where all my tulips bulbs I plant. And even in spring, I have like literally the whole place is covered in tulips and daffodils. But at the moment, I have got loads of zinnias, sunflowers, gladiolas, more amaranthus, shasta daisy. When I do have a lot more flowers, I'll do another short video of how it looks. Moving back to my roses, as you know, I've got about 75 roses. You do have to excuse the background noise here because it is my front garden and we are on the road, so you do have a lot of cars passing by. I'm really sorry about that, I can't help it. So I've got loads of roses. I've added more. So originally I only had them in the perimeter of the house, but now I've started running out of space. As you can see, they've started creeping over here. I think this one is Proper Job by Tantau. Looks stunning. This one is White Fairy. Got my Pink Fairy. I have Fragrant Cloud by Tantau. So we used to have a hedge just like our neighbors. When we did our extension, we changed them into wall, and then we built this planter ourselves. So we just bought some wood, and we made them into a little trough planter, and I've secured it on my railing with some cable ties, like heavy duty cable ties, not just like normal cable ties, some heavy duty cable ties. And I always put my seasonal bedding plants on this. So, and all of these bedding plants again have been started from seed. Nothing's been shop bought. So all my lobelias, my godiaceas, and my petunias have all been started from seed. So I've got all the way around, and all of my wall. Oh, this is called a Gypsophilia Monarch White. This one you can start from seed. It's very pretty. I often put this in my flower arrangements when I take cut flowers inside. I use this as filler flowers, and they're absolutely pretty. I also have the normal Gypsophilia Baby's Breath at the back. I forgot to show you in the clipping, but it's not flowered yet, but it is in a few different places that I've actually started. And then moving back onto the other side, I know the cars here you can't see really well. So this is our driveway, but in this wall here, I have my evergreen jasmine. It's called the Jasminoides traculospermum. I think this one is called. It honestly is absolutely, you can't see the lower half of it because of the car. It's absolutely covered in it and it keeps on going on. I've literally let it do its thing. Initially it was on a trellis, but I think the trellis broke a long time ago and it's now climbing on the walls, and you can see it's now starting to creep on my windows. You can see my indoor house plants as well. By the way, I have a mini jungle inside the house as well. There are literally plants everywhere overflowing in my house, inside and outside. And these jasmines, absolutely, like I'm standing here now, I'm intoxicated by the scent. That's how I can describe it. Literally, the scent is unbelievable. And I'm going to come around to the back of the car and I'm going to show you. So I've done the same again on this wall as well. I've got more of these planters filled with, can you see how pretty this Gypsophilia monarch white is? So pretty. Unbelievable is this lobelia looking. And I cannot believe everything is started from seed. And the seed packet probably cost me about like 30p or 20p when it was on sale. By the way, that's what I do. I always go to the end of the season in garden centres and Wilkinson, and then I buy all my seed packets for the following year. And then at the bottom here, right next to the car, I've got coleus. Literally, this whole wall has pots lined up. And I've got more dahlias all the way around here. A couple that started flowering now. So my dahlias, it's like literally this whole wall at the bottom as well. So I'll show you like a side angle here. There you go. So this whole side here has pots full of plants. So the sun is out now after the heavy storm. So I just thought I'll just finish off my outro here and just show you in the sun how glorious everything is looking in my house in the back garden. So I'm back in the back garden now, and I really hope you enjoyed this, and I'm hoping to do another one hopefully in August